domestic still to this day. I have people annoyed that I talk so much about it and like how it was one of the funnest sets I've ever been. Because it was like a true indie film, even though it necessarily wasn't. It had that vibe going on. It was amazing.
Yeah, we were playing with a lot of things on that one. It was a lot of discovery, a lot of learning. It was my first studio movie, so it was a learning experience all in itself. Although, again, like the approach to it was, again, very much like you said, it was very indie. That's what I had done before with short films, and it was kind of like, how do you get all this done for very little? And we did. So yeah, it was a blast, and uh, yeah, that was a lot of good memories from that one, and obviously it holds a place in my heart for being numero uno.
And so that one came about because you were doing some short films based on it, right? Is that how that came on?
Yeah, yeah, I'd done a short film that I had actually, the plan was to do like an episodic thing, that I was just going to shoot these stories as I could afford them, and that would themselves, these little short snippets would make up about a feature length film. But then I got told by several people who were watching the short, like, oh man, you should just turn it into a feature. Just make the feature. And a couple of people who said that were ones that ended up, or they said that they were very interested in doing it, and they ended up backing out.
Oh no shit.
So yeah, so go figure. It was like this weird thing where it was like kind of more indie prospects that were interested in doing it for a lot less money, and I was like, great. And then they ended up backing out, and then what happens? I get connected with Hollywood Gang, and then suddenly I'm at MGM and Orion and making this movie for way more than I was expecting to, with incredible crew, like actors, like building sets. Like I was just like, this is wild, dude. So that was yeah, that was a ride for sure.
And how did you get hooked up with them? I mean, did they actually see it, or did somebody give it to them? Because I mean, that at that point in time, that was before I think the prevalence of web series, and so it wasn't as common. And so I remember trying to find it whenever I was on there because we were, I mean, a bunch of us were trying to find the first part, and we couldn't because I mean, this is before YouTube had its shit together, and you could actually just find anything you wanted to, and there was everything.
Yeah.
But did somebody send them to that, or did you actually just go, okay, well, these people are backing out, let me try to send it to around, or how did that go?
Yeah, I sent it around. Like I
Yeah.
had I had this script, and it was just, yeah, here's the script. Here's, like, I had like a lookbook, and then I was like, and here's the short film that sort of like is sort of like the vibe, or one of the scenes that would take place in the film. Because at the time it was a glimpse of, it was going to be an episode, like a small episode. And yeah, so I'd sent that out and even cut a trailer, even just for the short, and that was sent to different studios and financiers and stuff like that, and yeah, that's how I got around. And I think now it used to be all password protected and stuff, like, and I don't even, dude, yeah, whatever. Like those days are over. I just like now you can just watch it. I think it's up on Vimeo. If you look up the
Awesome.
domestics, the short is up on Vimeo now, or it has been for a while now. So
That's so cool because it's such a throwback to the old days of making a short and then trying to pitch it and getting it picked up, and that's really cool that that happened that way. And then I do know that one of the differences was that you wound up getting completely different actors. You went up with Tyler and Kate, and so with that, was that something that y'all went through casting, or did they suggest that, or did you have to attach them to try to get it done, or how did that come about?
yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of all of that, yeah, MGM was looking for a certain level of name. I mean, like with a lot of these things, so much of casting comes down to, well, it's like everything kind of has to sync up. It has to be, first of all, somebody that I feel like can do it, and then the studio has to sign off and say that they have value overseas and here domestically, and all this. Like, there's all these things that have to like line up. And for them, that was Kate and Tyler, and I had a great conversation with Kate and a great conversation with Tyler, and yeah, they were very different than the people that I had in my short. But yeah, they were definitely uh, a huge piece of the puzzle to get the movie made, and I think they did a great job. And it was for Kate. I'd never seen her do anything quite like that before. She was just ferocious in the movie, and so yeah, that was a fun experience and kind of understanding how all that worked. A lot of lessons learned because I had talked to so many, and at that point I was just coming into all this stuff, and so suddenly, like, I'm having Zoom calls with, I think the first one I had, and this was before she exploded, but I think the first person I talked to was Rachel Brosnahan.
Mhm.
I talked to Sebastian Stan. Um, uh, God, yeah, I mean oh gosh, who else? I can't remember. It was I just kept going through all these people. Like, I can't believe I'm having conversations with all these actors, and because was me. I was a nobody director from Minnesota, and so it was very eye opening and kind of being able to talk with all these actors that you've seen them in in all these things. You're like, wow, this is so cool.
And man, well, and that was one of those things of like just the cameos that came in. I mean, like Dasmalchian was in for a little 5 minute scene, making an incredible appearance, and then Lance Reddick was incredible in it, and Sonoya I had never heard of, and then was like, wait a minute, this is wow, and it just all came together, and it was really awesome to be part of, to just on set. I mean, it was just a completely different vibe, and that was one of the things that I really have always given you a lot of credit for, was that you can usually tell how something's going to go whenever you meet the director. And I remember the first day it was just like, cool. So this isn't someone who like got a short film made and is coming in like, I'm the king and you. It was like, no, actually, you can have a conversation. We can talk about stuff. And also, it seemed like a big movie person, which is another huge thing, like a big fan. And so that leads into I guess my biggest question was, how did you get into the industry? Like, what made you want to pursue filmmaking?
Jesus, it's been ever since, like, I can remember. I mean, I remember I remember when I was asked, like, when I was, God, I can't remember, I was like 5 or 6 or somewhere between first and fourth grade, that when they started asking you the question of, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember I was like, I'm going to be an author or a jet fighter pilot. And, so much of that was because of Top Gun.
Oh,
But then the
awesome.
author was because I actually really liked writing stories when I was younger. And of course, I loved movies. So yeah, I strangely did not say filmmaker at that young age, but I always continued to make stories. And of course, once I got my hands on my dad's giant video camera, that's when things started to kind of go in that direction, and started telling stories that way. And this just continued doing that for the, the majority of my life, actually. As far back as, believe, what was it? Yeah, 8 or 9 years old. Like, and was constantly making stuff.